So, two new coaching hires have been announced for the University of Alabama. Travaris Robinson for the cornerback coach, as well as Coleman Hutzler as special teams coordinator and outside linebackers coach. We need to talk about what both of these moves mean, but before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from you. So hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes, N for no. Are you happy with these hires? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification because I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoy the content, like and comment down below. Those interactions, though they may seem small, they're massive to content creators such as myself, and both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But with all that being said, we need to break this down, and we will start with Travarus Robinson because this is a really intriguing hire. With the move being announced that Jay Valai officially intends to join Brent Venables and the Oklahoma Sooners staff, Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide were left in a position where they were looking for a DB coach, but it did not take long to identify a coach that Saban liked. And in the video I'd made previously when I was talking about Jay Valai leaving, one of the things I was talking about was Mark Orfeh was an intriguing name because of his ties to the state of Texas. However, even though the name is not Mark Orfeh, Travaris Robinson has elite ties, and he has ties to the state of Florida. And ironically enough, if you go right now and look at the recruiting cycle for the class of 2023, the number one cornerback in the nation, a top 10 player in the nation, is a cornerback from the state of Florida. And in fact, if you look, Florida is absolutely loaded with talent in 2023, as they were in 2022, 2021, and as they will be in 2024. Florida is a state with immense talent, and it's a state that Alabama has been able to capitalize on for quite some time. However, when you look at the shifting landscapes within the state of Florida in terms of who the head coaches there are now, you have Mario Cristobal at Miami. Miami is an area where if you get the guy in there, that's a situation we all have to watch. Because if Miami can get in a guy that can galvanize the area, that can galvanize the players in that region, it's going to be tough to lift those dudes from that area. And that's why it's so important that you have a presence and a strong presence in the state of Florida. And that's exactly what Travaris Robinson gives. We're going to talk about his lineage coaching, but first and foremost, Travaris Robinson is a defensive back coach that has found time playing in the NFL. He's coached at multiple different institutions, almost 15 years, if I'm not mistaken, of coaching experience. And not only that, but he's from Miami, Florida, so he has a deep familiarity with the landscape there. And if you look at 24/7 Sports and his recruiting profile, he has been hyper successful at recruiting the state of Florida. He's done it at a very high level, and he's recruited some very talented players out of Florida. He's recruited some five-stars, such as Vernon Hargreaves, but he's also been able to develop some guys, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I did want to point out that having that presence in the state of Florida is going to be massive. Now that Mario Cristobal is in Miami, now that Billy Napier is with the Gators, you're talking about some dudes that really love to recruit, and you have got to maintain a presence there. That way a fence is not put up, because Florida has been bled for years. And it's actually crazy when you look at the breakdown of how little of their top talent has been retained by both the Gators, by the Miami Hurricanes, or by Florida State. And so as all three of those institutions are looking to try and put a fence up around Florida, it's up to other institutions to try and find a way in. Travaris Robinson gives Alabama a way in, so I love that in that regard. But also, he has got tangible results as a cornerback coach. If we look at his time when he was the DB coach at Florida, from 2012 to 2013 to 2014, he fielded top defenses, especially his secondary. They were generating turnovers. They were allowing teams to pass for far less yards than they were used to periodically throughout the year. He's got a secondary that has been proven to show results, and he carried that from Florida to South Carolina. Where he was with South Carolina, his defense in 2017 ranked 9th in the nation in turnovers, being able to generate turnovers, and in 2016, they were 10th. So I bring all this up because he's got a direct line of results that have been tangible that we can actually see. And if we actually want to talk about development, well, he was an individual who recruited J.C. Horn and then developed him into a top pick in the NFL draft. Now, J.C. Horn was a phenomenally talented prospect. I don't dispute that as well. But Travarus Robinson was able to get defenses together to put him in a position to be successful, because when he was at South Carolina, he was not simply the DB coach, he was the defensive coordinator. So we're talking about an individual that has a deep understanding of how a defense runs in its entirety, and Alabama is able to get that guy in as a DB coach. Robinson has the ability to recruit. He's been able to generate 5 stars, whether that be at the DB position or the defensive line position, where he has also had success recruiting. And he is very good at recruiting the state of Florida. If you look at his recruiting results, they speak for themselves as in regards to recruiting in the state of Florida. This gives Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide an individual with a deep understanding of defense, because he's been a defensive coordinator. It gives them an individual that has results recruiting in a state that they absolutely want to maintain a presence in. And if you ask about what happens with the state of Texas, we're going to get to that in just a second. But Florida is of massive importance right now, with Mario Cristobal and themselves inserting themselves into the equation. You get that guy that can recruit that state, that gives you a presence in that state, that has given tangible results, both as a defensive coordinator and as a secondary coach, has been able to develop guys, all that going to the University of Alabama. I think this right here is a really, really impressive hire. I think it's a great hire for Nick Saban. The list of guys that Travaris Robinson has had on all Big 12, all SEC, you name it, he's been able to show these results everywhere he's been, and I am very excited for what the future holds for Travaris Robinson with the University of Alabama. The other hire, though, we need to talk about is Coleman Hutzler, the special teams coordinator from Ole Miss. And Coleman Hutzler is an interesting one, because when we look at his Twitter account once he was hired, his Twitter account states he's special teams coordinator and outside linebacker coach. The interesting thing about that is the special teams coordinator for Alabama is currently Drew Svoboda. The outside linebacker coach is currently Sal Sunseri. And so where does Hutzler fit into this? And the honest answer to that is I'm not quite sure yet. Off the top of my head, I don't think Sal Sunseri is going anywhere. That guy has been a rock for the University of Alabama for quite some time. But the reason why I said this is interesting, and I guess at a certain time we will figure out what the ins and outs of Hutzler's duties will be and what this means for a Drew Svoboda or even a Sal Sunseri, though I find it hard to believe Sal Sunseri would be going anywhere. That guy, they will do everything they can to retain him, if I had to imagine. So what does the hire of Coleman Hutzler mean? Well, interestingly enough, he was the co-defensive coordinator of the Texas Longhorns in 2020, so he's got experience elsewhere other than special teams coach. So that's something we are going to have to watch, but he's also been successful on the recruiting trail, being able to get 5-star Zach Pickens, being able to get 4-star highly regarded DJ Harris Jr. and Terrence Cooks for the Texas Longhorns on those last 2 names. So this is a name I'm very interested in seeing how things play out. It's one we are definitely going to have to watch because it has deeper implications as to what does this mean for either Drew Svoboda or Sal Sunseri, and that, I think, is where I'm most interested in. But 2 hires down, and I love the Travaris Robinson hire, at least on paper. I think it's very intriguing. I'm very interested in hearing from y'all, and I'm really interested in hearing on y'all's opinion on the Coleman Hutzler hire. The guy's got experience as a former co-defensive coordinator of the Texas Longhorns. He's been able to generate some success in recruiting, getting a 5-star in Zach Pickens and multiple blue-chip 4-star prospects. So getting in a guy that can recruit is always good, but being able to do multiple things is also good. It's just the question of what are the deeper implications of this move in particular. That's what I'm very interested in finding out. So until then, let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.